Howdy. In this video, I wanted to hype up my current favorite exotic weapon. I've spent probably a little over a month using and attempting to master this weapon, and over the course of those sessions, I've come to the opinion that this is the best primary weapon in the game. With Final Shape just around the corner, this is one of the few weapons that I highly advise y'all to pick up before its launch and to get comfortable with. Oh, and real quick, I wanted to try a YouTube-related experiment where I beg for subscribers in the beginning of the video instead of on the very last frame. So I'm going to see how that works out. Please subscribe. So one of my favorite things about this weapon is that it actually has a skill ceiling in order to use it to its max potential, and a pretty high one at that. You may be wondering how the weapon that literally tracks enemies for you has a skill ceiling, and although yes, you can pick up the weapon, hold charge, and release a 10-round burst of overcharge shots, there is some tech behind it. Just as a quick recap before we get into the tech behind the weapon, let me read out what the weapon actually does again. The exotic intrinsic reads, "All at once. Holding down the trigger marks targets within range and loads multiple bullets, which fire in a burst with increased stability on trigger release. Hitting a marked target with a fully charged burst will unravel them." And the weapon's secondary perk reads, "Pick your poison. Hip firing. Projectiles will track marked targets, dealing increased body shot damage on impact. Aiming. Projectiles have greatly increased velocity and deal extra critical hit damage to marked targets. The damage bonus to body shots while hip firing works out to be around 20%, while the crit damage bonus while aiming down sights is a 100% damage bonus." Now this weapon does have a not so hidden tech behind it, which contributes to the aforementioned skill ceiling. So let me explain how the not so hidden tech works. A normal charge burst of the weapon looks like this, shooting 10 rounds after a couple seconds of charging. And a tech charge burst looks like this, shooting up to 18 powered rounds with half the charge time. I'm going to try to break down how the tech works as easy as possible for you. The first thing you want to do is to ignore the bar to the side that tells you the charge strength. You may think this is strange now, but you don't want to build the habit of looking over there to tell when to release the charge. What you really want to do is release as soon as you see the white diamond on a target turn red. That red diamond means the target is officially marked and can have all the previously mentioned effects applied to it. As soon as that diamond turns red, you want to release the charge and start tap firing rapidly to get the maximum amount of shots out. However, if you are using it as a backup primary DPS weapon, you only want to tap fire out to 10 shots for maximum DPS optimization. Over my past month of playing with this thing, I found 6 different ways to push the weapon further. Here they are. The first tech I wanted to talk about in this section is unraveling rounds. Sadly, the unraveling effect can only be triggered from a fully charged burst and not from the half burst tap fire combo. However, in normal gameplay, you will find plenty of instances where you end up using the full charge, either on purpose or on accident. The number one factor of this happening on accident I found was trying to lock onto an enemy target that is just out of range, so while holding the charge, you'd walk or jump forwards to try to get the target in range. Provided that you did eventually lock onto the target, this is almost always an unraveling rounds proc. If you want to push unraveling even further, I recommend running this weapon with a secondary form of tick damage, something like Jolt or Necrotic Grips. This will allow the unraveling rounds to keep dealing tick damage since they don't go away as long as something is damaging the target that they are attached to. I have a build that I'll showcase at the end that includes this tech as well as a couple other things to build around Final Warning. The second tech is going to be how to correctly use this weapon to break shields. As a quick side note before I get into it, I would like to mention that you cannot track a target through a barrier champion shield. So provided Final Warning has anti-barrier rounds, either through Radiant or the seasonal mod or unraveling rounds, since it is a strand weapon, you'll have to use it like a normal sidearm to break the shield. For every other shield, however, what you want to do is lock onto the target, spam hipfire, then as soon as the shield is down, switch to ADS and aim for the crit. If the shield doesn't break from just one burst, just continue doing this until it does. The third tech I wanted to mention was using Final Warning as a sort of radar system. This will come up far less often than any other Final Warning tech, but it can be used to find that one pesky enemy that is shooting at you but you can't see it. To do this, all you need to do is hold charge and look in as many directions as possible. As soon as you see that little diamond start to form, you completed the tech. The next tech to talk about is corner peeking. Due to the insane tracking on the hipfire shots, you can lock onto a target, back slightly behind a wall or crate, or just anything really that blocks line of sight, then point your gun to the side or straight up if the object you're hiding behind is short enough, and release the burst. The final warning projectiles will shoot out a little before they track their target, so you have some wiggle room for how much cover you need. Second to last tech to discuss is reload tech. Although reloading normally is perfectly fine and what you will end up doing in 99.9% of engagements, throwing on a way to reload without actually reloading can help speed up combat and in some cases allow you to keep the red diamond on the same target for multiple bursts in a row. The most common way to do this would probably be with a hunter dodge or perhaps that strand fragment that reloads on grenade activation. And although Rain of Fire is a top tier option for reloading it, sadly it does not proc Radiant on final blows with final warning because despite its fusion rifle adjacent functionality, it still classifies as a sidearm. And then finally, the last tech I want to talk about is how to cancel the burst early or stop charging the weapon. To do this, all you have to do is sprint cancel or swap weapons. Using a class ability works as well, and so does a special ability such as an Ick Dash or a Shatter Dive, so does a grenade and a melee and a super. Pretty much anything that overrides weapon animations and usage. The only one I found that typically works, that doesn't work in this case, is reloading normally, since a gun doesn't let you reload mid-burst. However, once you have hit the point where you are tap firing to keep the burst alive, the reload does work. That's all the tech I have discovered so far with this weapon. Chances are I'll discover more once we hit final shape, so perhaps I'll make an updated final warning guide once I've gathered more info. For more final warning content along with the PvP side of the weapon, I recommend checking out Lazur's channel, which will be linked in the description. That guy is a straight menace with this thing, and the reason I tried it out in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment. They go a long way in the algorithm, and subscribers will help the big number go up, which makes the dopamine go up in my head. The next couple minutes after this are going to be me showcasing my personal favorite build of Final Warning with some commentary, so feel free to copy it. Although I do strongly encourage you to go out and make your own builds. In fact, I'll make a community post roughly the same time this video launches asking for Final Warning builds from y'all, and I'll showcase and shout out the ones I thought were the coolest. Okay, that's all the yapping I've got. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the build showcase. Okay, this is much more of a live commentary style, so forgive me if I stutter. Naturally, we have Final Warning. I take Forbearance and choice between Slammer and Hothead just for some extra DPS or because Slammer for movement. Forbearance is my ad clear since Final Warning is more of a major melter. In my subclass, I like to use Suppressor Nade and pair it with Echo of Domineering for some extra reloading on there. Child of the Old Gods, of course, to work with some Unravel tech thanks to Briarbinds, making it last longer. And there you can see, the Unraveling, Briarbinds, Void Soul, tick damage on tick damage, just works out pretty well. Forbearance for Ed Clear, like I said, Hothead for some damage, Slammer for movement. I do like to run Font of Restoration with this. Since I'm running Surge mods, it really helps get my low recovery up higher. So that's just helpful to get that Void Soul up more often. Naturally, I also run Devour, and just because, Devour's awesome. I use this mod for picking up Orb of Power Grid Devour. So if I get multi-kills with either Final Warning or Forbearance, I can just run into combat, pick up that orb, and be full health, which is just super awesome and very nice. And yeah, I think that's the full build breakdown. I can't remember anything else. I guess there's the fashion if you care about that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.